Good morning, class. This video is to review and use as a guide for Chapter 4 for CRJS240 Criminology. Chapter 4 talks about the rational choice theory. Again, you should have already read it. Because actually we're getting ready to go into chapter 7. But I wanted to post this because I know the last couple of weeks we've had, I had technical difficulties last week, couldn't even log on, which we would have reviewed, and your assignment for this week, your reading assignment for this week was chapter 5. So I just want to touch on a couple of things real quick that you can use. That we would discuss if we was in class or on our live Zoom sessions. So what I do want you to take away from chapter 4 is describing the development of the rational choice theory. Rational choice has its roots pretty much from the classical school of criminology, which was developed by 18th century Italian scholar Caesar Beccaria. So that name should definitely ring a bell to you, not only from this course, but also from CJ 100. James Q. Wilson observed that people who are likely to commit crime are unafraid of breaking the law because they value the excitement and thrills of the crime. They have a low stake in conformity and are willing to take greater chances than, let's say, the average person. Okay. Some of the more important concepts of the rational choice theory include law-violating behavior is the product of careful thought and planning. People who commit crime believe that the rewards of the crime outweigh the risk, so they take the chance. They feel like that they won't get caught, that the chances of doing so, of getting caught, doesn't rank high enough, and that they are willing to take that chance. If they think that they are likely to get arrested and punished, people will not risk criminal activities. And that's something that I want you to think about yourself, because what keeps you from making the wrong decision? Why don't you commit crimes? Before choosing to commit a crime, reasoning criminals carefully select their targets, and their behavior is generally considered pretty systematic and selective. I apologize for this shaking. I'm trying to... All right, there we go. That might be better. Rational choice theorists believe or view crime as both offense and offender specific. Okay. If you start to analyze the process in which offenders structure criminality, criminals consider their needs and their capabilities before committing crimes. One important decision that is made before someone enters into a life of crime is the need for money, right? Personal experience may also be an important element in structuring criminality. Before committing crimes, criminals report. They actually learn techniques to help them avoid detection while making profits. They put in effort into basically learning their craft. If you had to depict how criminals structure crime, look at it as though criminals carefully choose where they will commit crime. Evidence of rational choice may be found in the way criminals locate their targets. Rational choice involves both shaping criminality as well as structuring crime. If a target appears dangerous, criminals will most likely choose another target. If they feel like there is going to be a fight or a struggle, or that it won't be a quick dash, I can get this over, then they will most likely move on to someone that they feel like is a more quote unquote suitable target. Okay. Now, there are some arguments that crime is rational. There is evidence that theft-related crimes are the product of a careful risk assessment, and including environmental, social, structural factors. Target selection seems highly rational. Now, if we look at drug use is controlled by rational decision making. Users report that they begin taking drugs when they believe that the benefits of substance abuse outweigh its costs. Evidence confirms that even violent criminals select suitable targets by picking people who are vulnerable and who lack adequate defenses. Again, if they can't fight, if they're considered weak, then that tends to be a suitable target. There's no capable guardians around, there's no cameras, there's no police patrolling, no security patrolling, locked cars at night, things like that. In some instances, targets are chosen in order to send a message rather than generate capital. So the motive may not necessarily be financial in some situations, but more so to gain attention. If we had to, Chapter 4 talks about the craved model of crime choice. And basically, according to the craved model of crime choice, the elements that encourage crime are targets that are easily hidden, they're portable, they're widely available, they're easy to find, they are valuable, enjoyable to own, and they're easy to sell. If we assess the validity of situational crime prevention techniques for reducing crime, think about what goes on in your own community. What crime reduction programs do we have in place to minimize the risk? Remember, Chapter 3 talked about victims and victimization. So if we look at situational crime prevention, it involves developing tactics to reduce or eliminate a specific crime problem. So we identify a problem, and now we need to look at tactics and techniques on how to reduce it, because we've identified that there is a problem. These include tactics to increase the effort required to commit crime, such as putting unbreakable glass, like on storefronts, locking gates, fencing yards. It can also involve increasing the risk of crime through better security efforts. Reducing the rewards of crime is designed to lessen the value of crime to the potential criminal. Crime may be reduced or prevented if we can communicate to the people the wrongfulness of their behavior and how it's harmful to society. There was a situation, there was a little boy, I call him a little boy, I saw him on my security cameras in my yard of my home, and I run my business out of my home, or I did it at a particular time, to where I have vehicles, and my staff, we run a 24/7 operation. Staff could come pick up the vehicles. I have a lockbox that they could get, it's under cameras, under lights. So I have motion lights, and I had just installed them because there was if you have that ring system, and it tells you like neighborhood alerts or whatever. So there was like this increase of young kids going around checking cars, trying to see if they're unlocked and steal whatever they could out of them. So at the time, initially, I only had the Ring camera. So, and one, two of my vehicles had got, and at a fault of my own, because I've lived in my homes probably since 2012. Elderly neighbor on one side, nice neighbor couple across the street. I have a couple to the left of me. Everybody's been there, no problems ever. Um, so occasionally, and just lack on my part, so I had left my car door locked. Nothing was in it. They took a hoodie, a True Religion hoodie, and $3. Kid stuff, right? So after a couple of incidences, increased my security camera, put motion lights, whatever. Well, one Sunday morning around 7 o'clock, my neighbor noticed this kid going out of my driveway. Now, again, at any given time, my front yard can look like a car lot. That's how many vehicles in and out. I looked at the camera, and the thing is, one, if you came in the daytime, that probably means that you tested it at night and the light came on and it spooked and you ran or left. So now you come back in the daytime when you know that the motion light's not going to come on. So I get a nice, good view, screenshot. So I had called the cops and to report it. And even though I consider it wasn't a high priority call, like they never showed. Like it was hours. I just canceled it, whatever. But I still felt like I needed to address it. And maybe it was the PO in me. Whatever. I've worked juvenile probation and parole for years. So I figured that one, if you're on foot, you must live close. Because you're not have any other mode of transportation. You're not on a bike. You're not in a car, whatever. So you have to be fairly close. I start trolling the neighborhood. Lo and behold, who do I see? The kid. Again, like I said, he looked like about 14, 15 on the camera. I drive around a couple of times, kind of peeping out the area. I don't know if he's by himself. He was in front of a house. I don't know if you're going to yell, call somebody from the inside to come out, because he definitely notices me as well, as he should. He just been in my yard. So long story short, troll around, see him, drive around a couple of times, and I initially pull up. Probably not one of those don't try this at home kind of thing, but I felt comfortable enough. I definitely was armed. Not that I had any intention, but more so for security myself. I don't go anywhere without it. So I see him. And I'm like, come here, roll down my window. I never even get out the car. And he comes, which also tells me that you're young and dumb, because who walks up to a car of a stranger? And I'm like, oh, you like to hit cars? And he's like, no, I used to, but I got a job and I work at McDonald's down the street and this and this and that. I stopped because my friend got hit and he had to go to jail. And okay, what's your name? How old are you? He tells me all this. I know how many siblings he got, what school he go to. He didn't give me all this information. I'm just processing it. I said, so you're going to tell me that you weren't in my yard? He's like, huh? No, that wasn't me. Oh, okay. So this isn't you on my video? What video? I show him. I was like, turn around. What do you think it was? He had on the same clothes in the video that he was wearing right then. And this was like a day or so later. Which, in my mind, I note that it probably definitely, I can't prove it, but it probably definitely was him that stole the hoodie, right? You're wearing the same clothes. So probably leads me to believe that general, just everyday things that we're all afforded probably doesn't have a lot of it. So he takes it. Had like $3 in his hand. I was like, what if I stole that money from you? How would you feel? Or this is your mama's car. What if somebody stole her car? Oh, I'd feel violated, this and this and that. Oh, okay. Don't let me catch you in my yard again. Don't let me see you on my street. Don't be in my neighbor's yard unless you're coming. And here's where it changes. I give them a business card. I run a whole business. How about you come help pick up these bodies with me? Earn some real money. Because people work too hard to get what they have. And I understand crime increases when it's in the summertime, right? It's COVID. So people's circumstances have changed. So crime probably increases, especially property crimes. And I was like, so I'm going to give you this chance. I'm not calling the cops. This is me and you. I probably should kick your ass, but I'm not. I'm not even calling the cops. This is a discussion that me and you are going to have. Know that I know you, and I know that you know me. So from this point on, unless you're coming to talk to me about work or business, don't let me see you again. And that's pretty much how it ended. But he made the choice. He felt like, especially repetitive, right? If you can get away with it 1 or 2 times, then we're going to try it again. But you have to look at the thought processes of people. Very early on, if you've taken my juvenile delinquency class or if you plan on it, my concept is if you change the way that they think, they'll change the way that they act. Now, whether or not that was a come to Jesus meeting, the light bulb went off, I have no idea. I saw him some weeks later, him and I guess a younger brother, younger sibling, cousin, something, walking 2 bicycles up the street. One was a little girl's bike. I highly doubt that they're his bikes. Most likely probably stole them as well. On the ring alerts, there was another video that somebody in another neighborhood close by had posted up that, and it looked very, very similar to the same kid. So whether or not I reached them, I can't say. But I've no longer had any other problems in my yard. And at that age, that's when you start to rationalize, okay? And weigh whether or not the risk outweigh the actual act. Chapter 4 talks about the general elements of general deterrence. Now, we have talked general deterrence in CJ 100, right? General deterrence as the fear of punishment increases, right? Crime rates decrease. If the certainty of arrest is there, conviction, sanctioning increases, crime rate should ultimately therefore decline. The threat of severe punishment should also bring the crime rate down. The faster punishment is applied and the more closely it is linked to the crime, the more likely it will serve as a deterrent. That's one of the reasons that the death penalty has been an argument of whether or not it's deterrent. Is it because there's nothing swift about it, right? Not only does the actual chance of punishment influence criminality, so too does the perception of punishment. So people who perceive that they will be punished for crimes will generally avoid doing those crimes, right? If we start to articulate the basis of specific deterrence, remember the theory of specific deterrence holds that criminal sanctions should be so powerful that criminals will never repeat their acts again. Research on specific deterrence does not provide any clear-cut evidence that punishing criminals is an effective means of stopping them from committing future crimes. However, punishment may bring defiance rather than deterrence. So it could kind of be a twofold thing. People who are harshly treated may want to show that they cannot be broken by the system. The stigma of harsh treatment labels people and helps lock offenders into a criminal career instead of convincing them to avoid one. critique, if we look at the incapacitation strategy to reduce crime. Remember, incapacitation is where they're locked up, right? If they're locked up, they can't commit any crimes. And we don't really monitor, none of the UCR reports on crime data monitor the crimes that are committed inside an institution. But the premise is that if we incapacitate them, that they are no longer able to offend the community, thus the community is safe. So if we look at this strategy of incapacitation as it goes to reducing crime, the more criminals that are sent to prison, the more the crime rate should go down. That's the concept, right? Placing offenders behind bars during their prime crime years should reduce their lifetime opportunity to commit crime. Now, the shorter the span of the opportunity, the fewer offenses they commit during their lives. However, crime there is very little evidence that incapacitating criminals would deter them from future criminality, and reason to believe that they may be more inclined to commit more crimes upon their release. I don't know if you've heard that, people come out worse than what they were when they went in, because you're around nothing but other criminals, so you learn to enhance, or you learn other techniques or tactics, right? And so there's always been a discussion on whether or not people come out worse than what they are, and does that really does the incapacitation really benefit? The streets might be safe for a minute, but not everybody in there is in there for life, right? All right, so that ends chapter 4, the rational choice theory, and I will talk to you soon.